If you want to survive in design, you better learn to code. This is the article that I found this morning on Wired.com. The website has this prominent Silicon Valley figure, which is John Maeda, which he's being the MIT professor for 12 years and also advised on startups and other business. And it's very interesting because this statement has been going around quite a bit in the last few years. So designers should learn how to code. I don't know. Well, but coding, which takes another set of skills to be learned from this, can also be seen as another burden. We all know that pretty much trying to learn and be good at your own set of softwares that you already have installed in your computer, like 3D Max or AutoCAD, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and so on. Now, if you want to add another software and you want to be good at, because you can't just learn how to code and then live halfway through when you have no project you're following on. So if you're going out to code, you want to be good at, how are you going to do that? This article has one of the first highlights I really found out was the questioning of the essential role of the designer. What I can think of, or which designer, which field, could be mostly those who work in the design field and that right away deal primarily with digital projects, like apps, interfaces, user experience, graphic, and also, of course, web developer design, because they're the one who primarily will work the front end portion and the static, and they want to add coding to go deep into the back end of the project. Now, I'm sure that many designers already do it, but how good do you have to become in order to add the skills without any problem that when you go get the job and then they give you JavaScript to code and then you're okay at that? I also believe that if a designer there's already a set of skills, for example, like the packages that Adobe has or 3D software, it takes time to be very good at, because when you want to feature a good project in your portfolio and it implies the use of the software, you want to make the best out of it, because this portfolio is going to the hand of the manager or the HR, who is going to see if you do fit the profile for the person who they're looking for. Now, reading this article, I found it a bit vague because it doesn't specifically address which group of designers or what kind of language, except John Maeda mentioned the article JavaScript, which could be useful if you're doing like small project. But then again, does learning a bit of coding work as an asset that you can truly use, or just works to expand the knowledge of the designer more towards the understanding the philosophy behind coding? So when they do go into a group project, they know what they're talking about, they know what to do, what to expect, and they can easily interact with a person for the other team who actually is a full-time coders. And about that, being a full-time coders, I think that is the most essential portion of the team if you're working to the digital portion of your design projects. When you do have a team where you have the designer, the art director, you have the coder, you have the UI, UX designer, you already have a pretty good team where everybody is highly skilled in their own field and delegates to the next person in the team his ideas, his project, his execution. If you do have the UI UX designer who design with a wireframe the front portion of the interface and says, okay, this is what I like to see, the coder sees, and then goes on and creates the interface design I asked. Then you have the art director who pitch in and says, well, I want towards more there's shapes and sizes and colors, and it has to address to this type of crowd, and so on and so on. So there are certain aspects that every portion into the design team has to consider. If you start demanding, if the industry start demanding that now designers must code as a prerequisite for before being hired, what you're going to do is then suddenly everybody does the same job. And what if we push it furthermore, where we have the coder who becomes designer, because trend and needs shift in the next 5-10 years. So suddenly we have a huge pool of people that does the same job. And it's actually bad for the profession, because now with the surplus of people, designer who knows how to code and coder who are designers, they are on pretty much on the same level. You as a company can say, I'm not going to hire that guy because just like him, I can get somebody else that demands less money, less benefit. I can have the same result, and I can also don't have to invest too much. So I'm going to save money and I have the same product. So from having specific number out there in the market that do web design, graphic design, industrial design, coding, user experience, user interface design, you risk of creating like an homogeneous pool of designers who do everything and do nothing. Because now suddenly everybody's rushing to code because that is the next thing to do. Now there's the risk that these designers who started to code, but they don't have the same length in the skills just like they have with the previous software. So somebody who has only 1 or 2 years of coding experience but has 10 years of Adobe Illustrator or 3D Max or whatever, how does it fit into the hiring process? Are company going to evaluate just the knowledge of coding or just the experience overall? Because when you do get hired, they look also at your proficiency skills. So if you have been using 3D Max and you present a good portfolio, you're going to have a very good chance of being hired. But if you do code for, if you have been coding for the past 2 years and you present on a portfolio barely acceptable skills, that they're not going to hire you. So I'm puzzled over what is going on. What are we going to do? Is that a mandatory requirement? But then again, the worry is that the market might be seriously affected, because the industry in design now is following Silicon Valley all the way. So they've been dictating the trend in the past decades. But now there's also the analog side of design, which is the one where you get your hands dirty a bit. So where you go into, you design your sketches, you do have a bit of skills into creating a 3D program, and then you have to prototype it. So I'm thinking about things like the automotive industry. Well, you could be very good at providing an illustration of a car, but you need good at creating the 3D project. And also, car designers get their hand dirty because they go and create with clay the massive models of the car, and they do conceptualize a lot on the paper. So they have their marker skills. They know how to use the markers. They know how to use like the tablet, like a Wacom tablet, and do it digitally. But still, that is an aspect that has a lot of analog work there. Whereas the digital side that Silicon Valley has, it's all prompt about the virtual aspect. So that has less hands-on. So it's more about being in front of a keyboard pretty much for 90% of the project, and then the rest 10% is meeting along with the other designers or with your supervisor and just showing what you've been doing. One of the highlights of the article that I found interesting is when they do state who is and what Maeda does. Maeda is to design what Warren Buffett is to finance, a seasoned technologist who spent more than a decade at the MIT Media Lab before becoming president of the Rhode Island School of Design, a partner at VC powerhouse Kleiner Perkins, and now the head of computational design and inclusion at Automatic, WordPress.com's parent company. Every year, Maeda travels to South by Southwest to deliver his design and technology report, a sprawling presentation that outlines the field's growing impact on technology and business. Well, we do need a sort of representation from the design point of view. However, I do find that if you highlight the need to have one group of thinking represented only by one person to deliver the direction of what's going to be for the design the next years, I find it a bit overwhelming. Also because you elevate the person and you elevate his credibility, and he suddenly will start speaking for all designers. Then again, the article it's vague. It doesn't specify what design for, but we all know that it's mostly focused on the aspect of Silicon Valley, the digital and virtual world, which it does address a point where we might be able to find coding eventually a useful skill if you are a person and is willing to go towards the Oculus Rift projects, the apps, or any kind of service that might requires you to code up an interface or a service. But design's role in this world is constantly shifting. In its 2017 report, Maeda makes the case that the most successful designers will be those who can work with intangible materials, code, words, and voice. These are the designers who craft experiences for the chatbot and voice interfaces people are increasingly attracted with. The second highlight reminds me of the direction that the industry is taking place with the voice experience and the imagery and sound experience. Right now, IKEA is working on the Wall project. It's called the Wall, where this virtual greeter will substitute the person who actually welcome you to IKEA when you enter. Now, the Wall recognizes the customers because of the Internet of Things, and all of the devices are connected, so it identifies the location, the geolocation through the cell phone, and it's going to recognize the customer. So it will be like, "Hello, Mr. X, welcome to IKEA. How may I help you?" Now the customer will interface with this virtual assistant and ask, for example, "Oh, where is the chair section? Where is the food section, the restaurant? Where is the kitchen section? Or where is the sofa section?" And so on and so on. Now, probably this is where designer may want to be interested in coding, but then again, there's more than just coding in design. There's also about understanding the human persona, what the person wants. A good research, a good experience in user experience design is what makes a product also successful. Of course, also the functionality, the interface, and the aesthetic. But then again, we look back at the whole team where everybody is very good at doing their job. And at the head of this team, you have the project manager, the art director, or whoever is in charge of the project and is giving direction and is saying, "We need this, this, and that according to what we can do, according to your suggestions," and so on. By blurring the line between designers who needs to code, or even coders who will go into the design, because we might be sure that in the next 5 years the trend will shift. We actually need only coders that will need a bit of design to understand. Because once you have a coder who has like 5, 10, 20 years of experience, he or she is going to be very good at crafting project, learn a bit of design just to understand from the experience point of view what the customer may want. But this person will have more skills in coding, so it can produce a better software for a better experience. Then the third highlight of the article says, take Instagram, which from the start had to balance engineering and design constraints. In its infancy, the company was too computationally expensive to allow for both landscape and portrait mode. Instead of limiting the interface to one or the other, Instagram's designers decided to make every photo a square. By being square, you didn't have to choose anymore, Maeda says. It was a great design decision. I think it was. It's a very standard, uniform way of displaying through the app and the sharing capability of Instagram, that once you have one format, you don't have to go crazy. Sometimes, practically speaking, you take your phone and you have you take a picture with your camera, and you're trying to switch the phone left and right. You flip the phone and you can never guess where the picture is rotating. So you're moving faster than the software can understand where you're going at. And I think, in my opinion, it wasn't just a decision by one person exclusively. I think it was a decision that led up to analyzing this issue. So somebody from the code side said, well, if we do have this two option, it's going to be longer, riskier, we might encounter more bugs through the developer. And then on the other end of the table, the other guy from the team, user experience design or user interface design, will say, because the interface now will change. So why don't we just make one decision? We standardize. And then the art director says, well, that's a good idea. Let's remove this two option. Let's keep one. It's square, so everybody can can enjoy a uniform standard. And then probably the guy from the web developer or the graphic designer says, it is a good idea. It's easy for me to create a set of interfaces or to create a wireframe with one identity rather than have two options that could confuse the user. The article ends up with an interesting spin. Designers who can code and write have always been attractive to tech companies, but Maeda's report foretells an inflection point for the field. As the distinction between engineering, writing, and design becomes blurrier, design's role in technology only stands to become more ingrained in the product development process. In the end, design, as a singular field, could become less visible but more relevant. And someday, design might not need Maeda's 50-page report to extol its virtues. When you do have all these ingredients that need to be somehow balanced in one designer, so the engineering point of view, the writing point of view, and the design point of view, I think that it's cramming too much in one person, both because we know that software is expensive and takes time, because the learning curve is not easy to master. Even those people who do master, they're chasing updates, they're chasing new skills, so they're also working different projects and they're going to use other features of the software. So unless somebody has the time of all his life and has all the patience of all to learn everything, it will come at a price for the company, because suddenly you have somebody who is a true master of, let's say, Rhino or 3D Max and Photoshop, because he needs to create 3D project and he needs to have a good skills of Photoshop for the catalog for the presentation. Now suddenly this person is not going to be paid $15-20 like many ads companies put out. A bit of a challenge that now is being thrown off is a baffling issue that the amount of skills and experience required by companies is constantly increasing, and the pay is not even that good, because they advertise as an entry position. So if somebody is going to get paid $15-20, and who knows if benefits will come. I dare say this, but it's more like if you take a doctor who's very good, who's a neurosurgeon, who knows how to hack the brain, you know how to operate the brain, and knows how to cure people, and suddenly he has to go and work in heart surgery. I'm sure some people can do it, some people might even be very good at, but you're not going to have a huge number of people being able to perform two delicate tasks without mixing it up and making a mistake. So don't try to half-ass two things, whole-ass of one thing.